Hello and welcome to the second of my DAZ3d tutorials. In this one I'll be showing you 3 tips that I have for how to get the best from Dforce and Dforce assets specifically. Before I get into that though, I'd like to give a big shout out and a big thank you to my supporters on various platforms. Your support is appreciated. So Dforce, many of you might have used it before. You apply the asset, it says it's a Dforce one, you click on simulate and it could be a dress or a skirt or a bit of cloth on a table. And you might be lucky and have some success the first time you use it, or what usually happens is the asset explodes over your scene and possibly crashes Daz or your computer. I have some tips that will hopefully help you avoid that. So let's start with Cindy, which I have over here. Anyone who's played my visual novel Dreams of Reality will recognise Cindy and be well aware that she is definitely on the larger size when it comes to her breasts. This is actually a side effect. You can see underneath there's a shadow. The way the top hangs is not particularly natural. This is a side effect of the smoothing that clothing goes through, where it hugs the skin. Firstly, we want to open the timeline, which I already have open here. You want to make sure that you start on frame 0. And then we click on the model, double click to select, and on the right here, we want to go to Shaping, Editor, and I select All. And in the little search field, type in breast size. See, we've got a few options here. The ones we're interested in are the left and the right. So we want to make those smaller, like so. What we want to do is make her breast smaller at the start and then bigger or normal sized at the last frame, frame 30. You can see I've got it set here 0, 0, and at the start it's set to -50, -50. What this will do is when we run the simulation, the movement of the breast expanding outwards will actually cause the clothing, the top, to drape correctly over her breasts. So now that we've got that set, there's a couple of extra things that we need to do. Firstly, on the simulation tab on the left, you want to start bones from memorized pose, you want to turn that to off. And under frames to simulate, you want to change that from current frame to animated, use timeline to play range. And this means it will add the Dforce modifier to the entire timeline. Whilst we wait for the simulation to finish, some assets that you can get that can do the same thing. Mesh Grabber allows you to grab the mesh and move it in different directions. However, I find this doesn't always work as intended and can end up being more work than if you just use a Dforce simulation. Another asset that you can get is called Fit Control. This does a very similar job to Mesh Grabber, however it actually uses morphs. You see on the right here, it actually uses morphs, but again you can have some success with it, but sometimes it doesn't always work well. It really depends how well the actual asset you're trying to morph has been set up. The method I'm doing here with simulating over the timeline, it is effective and it can actually be used in other situations. Now the simulation is complete, you can definitely see a vast improvement in the drape of her top. No longer does it have quite the pronounced lines underneath. Look, it does look much better. And what I will do is I will clear the simulation just so you can see how much of an improvement that's done. The only thing I will add is make sure that when you run your render that you do it on frame 30, not on the first frame. So if I clear that, you can see how different doing that Dforce has done. all that's left is to thank my supporters, my patrons, and to thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.